When transporting students who are neurodivergent or have disabilities, it's important to know the correct terminology and definitions to use. There are many significant terms to be familiar with so that you can do your job effectively and understand the full legal scope of transporting students who are neurodivergent. In this video, we will list and explain the most important terms for you to be familiar with. Before we dive into the legal terms, it's important to know how to refer to people who are neurodivergent. Some people prefer to use person-first language, which, for example, means instead of referring to someone as an autistic person, you'd refer to them as a person with autism. The person comes before their disability. Whatever condition they have does not define their existence. However, some people prefer to use identity-first language, which, for example, would be referring to someone as an autistic person. They live with their condition and find it to be a part of who they are. Ultimately, it's best to ask each individual how they prefer to describe their own condition and what terms they are most comfortable using. Now we'll discuss some common terms and definitions you should be familiar with in regard to the transportation of neurodivergent students. Neurodivergent is a term used to describe people who differ in mental or neurological function from what is considered typical. This term can be used to describe many different brain functions such as autism, ADHD, Tourette syndrome, or other intellectual disabilities. Public law refers to the relationship between the government and the people. Public Law 93 through 112 is the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, the most significant action by Congress to aid and service Americans with disabilities. FAPE stands for Free Appropriate Public Education. In the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504 states that each qualified person with a disability who is in the school district's jurisdiction, regardless of the nature or severity of the person's disability, is entitled to FAPE. IEP stands for Individualized Education Program. Recipients of IDEA funding are entitled to IEPs. Complete specifications of IEPs can be found in Section 300.320 of IDEA. But the key takeaway is that children with disabilities are entitled to a written statement, which includes the current status of the child's academic progress and functional performance, an outline of annual academic and operational goals that meet the child's personal needs, enabling them to succeed, a description of how the progress of the goals and periodic reports will be measured, a statement of program modifications or supplementary aids to service the child, as well as the necessary modifications of school personnel, an explanation of to what extent a child will participate in standard classes or activities with children who are actively independent or not disabled, the projected date for the beginning of the services and modifications. As for extracurricular activities, clubs, sports, and counseling, students with active limitations or disabilities are to be provided the same opportunities to the maximum extent as outlined in Section 504. Students with disabilities may not be excluded from participating in non-academic services and extracurricular activities on the basis of disability. IDEA stands for Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This act ensures that all children with disabilities are entitled to a free, appropriate public education to meet their unique needs and prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. IDEA has four main parts. Part A outlines the foundations of the Act and defines relative terms. Part B discusses educational guidelines such as FAPE and IEP for students aged 3 through 21. This section cross-references FERPA. Part C recognizes the need for identifying and reaching very young children with disabilities. It provides individualized family service plans, or IFSPs, for families with children disabilities aged 0 through 2. Part D describes national activities to be undertaken to improve the education of children with disabilities. FERPA stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. FERPA is a federal law that protects the privacy of student education records. FERPA gives parents certain rights with respect to their children's education records. FERPA's protection of privacy for children with disabilities is expanded in Part B of IDEA. A 504 plan is a plan for how the school will provide support and remove barriers for a student with a disability. Similar to an IEP, a 504 plan contains more broad adjustments to a school's environment rather than individual modifications for a child's specific needs. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is a federal civil rights law to stop discrimination against people with disabilities. 504 plans are less specific than IEPs and have a wider range of qualifications that don't require a written document. A 504 plan generally includes the specific accommodations, support, or services for the child, the names of who will provide each service, and the name of the person responsible for ensuring the plan is implemented. Whether a child has active limitations, disabilities, an IEP, or a 504 plan, that child deserves transportation that makes them feel included and understood. This is not a matter of equality, but a matter of equity. Being familiar with these terms equips you as a transportation driver for children who are neurodivergent. Adjusting the route, having the necessary modifications, or providing additional services can make your students feel recognized and safe, leading to them receiving the opportunities they deserve.